Okay, good morning everyone. My name's Eva and we are the POC Caucus. So for our project, we did a puzzle and I'm gonna have Carly to talk to you guys more about how we came to this idea of puzzle.
Nice. So we, in our initial conversations as a caucus together, felt like one of the themes that kept coming up for us was this feeling of, feeling unsettled with the category of people of color. And what does that mean to us, and how do we feel like we fit into the wider caucus, but really in the world in general, about how do we move through the world as somebody that is defined by being a person of color, and how are we able to kind of come together in order to enact change, even though we may not feel like the term people of color fully encompasses all who we are and all of the complexity, even between just the five of us that are here together. So we chose to kind of take our perspectives and represent them metaphorically through a physical puzzle, because we felt like it was a great way to show that we really took this year to find ways that we could fit together, even though the most obvious the themes that came out were actually things that set us apart. So trying to kind of overcome the discomfort with being categorized as a person of color in order to be able to come together and have sort of a unified image, kind of like a puzzle.
Great. Sorry, I can't see what's behind me. So we thought a lot about the notion of seeing the individual and the whole, and also understanding that in spite of differences, we have a lot that brings us together, especially when we think about the broader context of white supremacist society, where sometimes we need to focus on the good of the whole as much as the good of the individual. Not less than or more than, but as much as. And so we came up with this beautiful image where at the core is our planet Earth, and we belong to it. Beyond platitudes, it also requires a sense of literacy that connects us all, and heart, veins, and you'll hear more about each one of these images, and also nature, flora and fauna, that is very much a part of every single one of us. So we'll continue, we'll share a little bit about each individual image that made the image for our puzzle, the collective image for our puzzle. So I think the first one up is Jess.
Okay, thank you. So the image that I contributed to our collective image is this heart drawn on a beach. And one of the things that I grappled a lot with through the deal process is the idea of grace, and feeling for a long time very tangential to like all of the movement work and all of the things that happened within all of the realms and conversations in like rooms like these, and not being able to have language for or forgiveness for things like showing up to a movement but saying something that was more along the lines of was not helpful to it, or showing up in a way that was not, was in allyship or not co-liberation, and slipping between all of like Tawana's layers in ways that felt backwards or sideways or not always forward moving. And that being okay if that came from a place of trying to show up with goodness and being helpful and true to, the movement. Okay.
Thank you, Jess. I took this image of a art installation that I saw when I was traveling with my family in Ireland. And actually, when you see it in person, it is an inflated globe that turns as it's hanging from the ceiling. So it's a seamless projection, which just the nerd in me thought was really awesome. But also, it was so awe-inspiring. I spent 20 minutes just standing underneath this inflated earth as it spun around above me, and it really felt like a uniquely spiritual experience that I hadn't felt before. And I just had a moment with my family where we talked about the fragility of our earth, the fragility of our connections with the people around us, and it really took took us out of sort of the hustle of traveling together to be able to just sit with each other and kind of give thanks to the planet, especially kind of in the larger context of where we are in the universe, that our planet is extremely unique. It is really the only planet as of right now that can sustain us and sustain our life. And I really felt like it represented how I was feeling through this process connecting with the POC Caucus. There was so much that I felt was getting input into my mind and my life through the outside world. And so it really was, when we were able to connect with each other and kind of find time outside of Deal together, that it was kind of a break and I could pause and reflect. And I just felt a very similar experience to how I felt when I saw this in person.
All right, the next one is mine. So I chose this image. I don't know if any one of you have actually toured the main reading room of the Library of Congress. A friend of mine works there, so she got us a after-hour pass. So I was able to go inside the actual main reading room of Library of Congress. And this is the dome. The ceiling mural has 12 figure. They are the personification of each and different civilizations and countries. So the mural itself is commissioned by Thomas Jefferson himself. And these 12 figures symbolizes different cultures that had contributed to the Western civilization as we know today. And so one of the things that I learned from throughout this fellowship is that we didn't come to where we are without our ancestors. And so I felt very deeply that if our founding father can recognize that each and different civilizations and countries contributed to what we know today, I think we too can come to that and understand that the idea, the myth of American exceptionalism is just a myth. And so, yeah.
All right, thank you. So mine's real simple. It's just my hands. And when I was working on this exercise, one of the things that really, actually from the beginning of our journey together through DL9, it's been a journey of introspection, right? Just for me, taking a look at myself. And most importantly, when we talked about white supremacist systems and we talked about the pillars, I had to really look within myself to identify how am I contributing to that. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. And when I was working on this exercise, I brought my daughter in, my youngest child, to take a picture of my hands. And I did that as a way, both a visual poem and then just a poem for myself, to kind of work through that experience that I've been having during this journey. And you can see it here, you can read it. When I look at my hands, I really do think of my ancestors. I think of the labor and all of that which came before me, and that I carry them with me all the time. And this is true that when I do look at my hands and I see my veins and I see my bones, I see them with me. I see them as rivers, and I write that in here. And they remind me of a journey not finished. They're my treasures, they're my map. So my hands are that visual example that I carry with me of my ancestral lineage. And again, I write that here. And I wanted my daughter to be part of that, to have that inquisitive mind, like, why are you taking this picture? Why are you making me take it? And you're making me take 3 of them. Why? Because I wanted to be able to capture a number of different things in that image. Again, my veins, which are very prominent on my hands, the color of my skin, and then most of all, myself, giving myself a hand, because there are times when it's just me, when I feel like I'm on this journey all by myself. But then I have to be reminded that they're always there with me. So I added that to my puzzle. Again, you're free to take a look at my words, but that was part of what this exercise meant to me. And as part of the puzzle, you'll recognize that, much like myself, I am that puzzle. I am all these mixed pieces of different things that through time come back together. Thank you.
It's Mona. For my image, often growing up and seeing a lot of the racism that happens around me in Southern California and other parts of the states, and as a child of immigrants, I felt a deep sense of urgency, but also a deep sense of disconnect. Like, where do I fit in? Where does my piece of the puzzle come in to support, to amplify, to walk in the footsteps of people who worked for liberation here for centuries. And then also people who worked for liberation within my own personal lineage and background. And oftentimes, while we're thinking and pondering, and going about our mundane everyday lives, we're here. We're looking at the ground, we're looking around us. We rarely lift our heads and go up. And I urge you and encourage you and invite you to just lift your heads up for a second right now. And that's what the palm trees did for me. So I took this photo maybe in 2010, maybe earlier, maybe 25, in Palm Springs, California. There are many, many towns in Palm Springs Valley that have Arabic names. If you're surprised, I was surprised too, but this was a favorite place for my father to take us when we were little kids. We never understood why, but as you get older, you do start to understand and appreciate your parents. It might have been Mecca. Mecca is the name of a town. It might have been Coachella Valley. It might have been any one of them. Thermal, who knows? I don't remember which oasis I went to, but I lifted my head up and I looked up at the tree and I realized it's not just one tree, that even though it was individual, with the rest of the palm trees around it, it became an oasis in the middle of a desert. And it was able to provide us with fruit, with meager things to sustain it. It's one of the few trees that needs to be absolutely hand-pollinated. It will not bear fruit if it's not tended by hand. And I also later in 2000 something, found out that also some of these trees were directly brought back by people who were stationed there in World War II. I never knew that. And they were from a town known for dates in Algeria. And so this image really speaks to me finding the connections between what I have in my background and what's immediately around me. I don't know how or why we landed in Southern California, but we did. And it basically always reminded me and reminds me still to look up and that I have what we need to overcome. So we invite you to assemble the pieces together with us. The puzzle's here, please come up. And let's try to put as many of these pieces together as we can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a reference image on the top of the box, so if you need a reference, there is that for you.
We're dividing it so that we can make it easier. Oh my God. Yeah, look at you. Easy. That makes sense. There's some
We got 2 minutes left.
So we're talking. This is all mirror.
Oh, let me say something really quick, and then I'll pass it off to you. So we invite you to continue working on this throughout the day, and we want you to also know something. Play.
Yeah, the POC Caucus kept one of the puzzle pieces as a reminder that this journey and this experience is always unfinished and ongoing, and that there are pieces of all of our healing journeys that we all have inside of ourselves for each other. So, thank you all.
That's not an option. Finish this puzzle today. So I'm like, this dome is going to be so hard. Your camera. You can't. It is brand new. Off the table. It's not in the way. You're not like, it seems like. I'll take, I can send them a bite. So.